All right, let's bring you through the morning newspapers. We're going to start with the Irish Independent, and the back page there is a leaping Michael Ryan. Ryan's leap of faith as Tip find their fight. Think about this weekend, right? Good golf in that Rory is involved all the way through to the end. Sam Bennett wins his third and final stage in the Giro, which has one of the most remarkable ends to any of those big professional races that we've seen over the last 15 years, when Chris Froome rides away from everybody. Was it Friday he did it?
Friday.
Thursday or Friday anyway. So if it's Friday, I'm claiming it as part of the weekend. So that's definitely all worth watching. We had a gold medal from Arthur Lanigan O'Keefe, which barely makes the back page of the, and silver from Natalia Coyle. We had unbelievable hurling in football, in that there were proper shocks in the football. They're not really shocks like a 2-1 team winning or Carlow winning, but hammering Kildare really, because they absolutely hammered them. In the hurling, you had Tipperary given the last rites on television. I don't know, you probably didn't see this, but
Sherlock apparently
effectively said they're dead. This is it. They're finished, not just today, but for the rest of this. This is the end of the road for this team. And then by full time, it's like, well, actually, maybe Tipperary are back in it. I think Tipperary now are probably second favourites for the All-Ireland, if you're like looking at that properly after that performance, because they have the firepower and they have the fitness now from the players coming back. And you've got the Champions League and you've got the rugby, and all in all, it's potentially one of the biggest. Oh, and the Cavs, which we haven't even mentioned this. LeBron James last night rescued the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they won in Game 7 in Boston against the Celtics to go through to the finals, where probably they're going to get beaten, but who knows? Best sporting weekend of all time?
Yeah, you've really made a case for it there. I did say earlier on that we were maybe lacking a big fight, that like an Irish person in a big fight would have been what really would have been the cherry on the cake here. But other than that, it was amazing. It was absolutely... Well, hold on a minute. Natalia Coyle and Arthur Lanigan O'Keefe had to pull out their... had to, partake in fencing over the weekend, so maybe that's kind of...
Their guns.
Yeah,
their guns out.
Exactly, yeah. So it was a gunfight and a sword fight, so we got two different fights there. It was an unbelievable weekend. What I'm starting to think now is that... Well, not what I'm starting to think, what I know already is that this is going to be the GAA summer of all time, the best one, and it is going to continue on this trend for the next few years. The changes that have occurred have made this thing so much better, that you're not just depending on the likes of a Carlow yesterday to give you some sort of good news story from the weekend. The hurling championship is going to deliver week after week after week. That game now in the next round of the Munster Hurling Championship, which is between Tipperary and Waterford, is humongous. Just like we were building up yesterday's Tipperary against Cork as this massive do or die match. All these games are now seemingly do or die, despite the fact that they're not really. But the ultimate goal is that you will get knocked out of Munster, you'll get knocked out of the entire championship if you don't get into the top three.
Waterford have had disaster with injury, so I think that's probably going to...
Suspension as well.
I think that they're going to be a bit screwed for that game because of the various injuries that they had yesterday, plus the two that had gone into the game. So
the World Cup hasn't even started yet, sure. This is going to be the best summer of all time. If Ireland were in the World Cup, there would be no question. There wouldn't be any other summer that could even come anywhere close to this one if they were in the World Cup, but they're not. So there will only be an argument about it. It's going to be amazing. It's going to get even better.
Yeah, but we're not though. You had to bring that up, didn't you?
Well,
it'll spoil the mood.
You have to bring
what a great
down.
weekend! What a great weekend!
You have to bring
but we're
down
not in the World Cup, Jar.
Lower expectations, Jar.
I mean, that's basically like saying, what about Saipan? Loads of great stuff in that today. A lot of match reports, a lot of analysis and reaction. Next up is the Times Ireland edition. Carlo provided the inspiration there on the back page of the Times. New chapter in Longford's fairy tale as Connaughton's team secures semi-final place against Dublin, and exceptional chance at World Cup. This Stuart Lancaster going all in on Ireland's chances at the World Cup. We have an exceptional chance, and he also goes further by saying that he says that of all the players I've coached, Johnny Sexton is probably the best, which is pretty high praise. I didn't realise it, but they were talking about so everybody's like, oh, James Ryan never lost a game, right? But about 5 or 6 of them had unbeaten seasons. Sexton didn't lose a game. Tyke Furlong didn't lose a game. Robbie Henshaw was mentioned as not having lost a game. James Ryan as well, which is unbelievable when you think about it.
It's outrageous. It is outrageous. It's like there is no more words left to say about James Ryan and that cohort of players. Just invincible. It is one of the great rugby seasons we've ever seen. Everybody else who's not from Leinster, myself included, it just looks on this team with pure envy at this point and admiration, really, more than anything else. It was a sublime game as well on Saturday. Really enjoyable from a neutral perspective. they're just a phenomenal team. How can anybody catch them within the next 12 months? Well, it is a Joey Carberry
Take their
leading.
best players.
And that's what might occur, but it's not really. It's one player, and Jordy Murphy. So there's two pretty good players.
And Issa's gone as well.
And Issa, of course.
Yeah. So that is quite a serious stripping of talent.
Karl Marx will be proud.
Yeah. It's the communist at the head of the IRFU.
That was the first line in the. What was his book again? I shouldn't have started saying this, but out the Communist Manifesto. That's the first line, apparently, is Joey Carberry to Munster.
On to the Irish Times next. Now, Sewa lifting trophy, the highlight of my season. That's Leo Cullen. And then O'Neill hoping to learn more about options. This is the fact that Ireland are playing France tonight in a friendly. So, Monday, we all know about the Monday carryovers. Ireland playing France in the Stade de France. Going back to the scene of the crime for the second time, obviously. We were there in the Euros. It was the first time we played France. And then also Carlo on the front of the Irish Times sports section there as well. Tipperary alive and kicking. Tipperary are alive and kicking. And we'll talk more about this with Stapo a little bit later on, but there was a bang of Tyrone against Dublin in 2005. Is it the second year they win the All-Ireland? Is that the one that they have the complete remedial situation, or is it 2008? Is it 2008 through the qualifiers?
08 through the qualifiers. 2005, is that Mulligan's goal? The goal? I can't remember.
No, I think maybe it is 2005.
Because 08 obviously is the record of games played to win a championship.
Yeah.
So that's definitely through the back door.
There was definitely a situation where...
And sure, yeah, they win Ulster in 2005, beating... Or do they? Armagh and Croke Park.
Yeah, Armagh beat them.
Armagh beat them, yeah, so I don't know. I can't remember.
One of the years. Tyrone had to completely recast our team, a bunch of positional switches, a bunch of players kind of finally finding form, and you're thinking, is this what's happening here with tip game? And it's like, okay, everybody's complaining about it, but actually in the second half, they put players in different positions. They decide to go. A lot of people saying there's no tactical element to the change in the second half, but I'm not sure I fully agree with that. When we get Shane to talk to us a little bit later on about that. Then the Examiner, staying alive. Actually, we have a different headline. Sore point, Rebels let struggling Tipperary wriggle off the hook, and then staying alive, Tip rescue, crucial point in Munster Hurling Classic is the different cover that we have here. So the Examiner do that sometimes, more localised coverage depending on where you are. So I did feel like there was Cork letting Tip off the hook when they could have killed him, and they could have just been proper zombie.
Yeah, is that one thing that this Cork team is lacking, is that killer instinct. Be interesting to see what Stapo thinks of that later on. But maybe there's just a bit of youthful innocence still remaining in that Cork team. A bit more of the killer Cork instinct is required.
The Mail, tribal intent, Galway send the cats packing. More hurling analysis coming in just a couple of minutes' time. The Irish news for you in colour this morning. Donegal advances, Oaks grow. I mean, a 6-point defeat in Ulster is growth from a Derry perspective. I'm not sure it is. And then Triumphant Rail 7-1 to land historic 4-timer is the back page of the Racing Post. And then A Star is Born, Alpha Centauri puts on a stellar show in the 1,000 Guineas to give Jessica Harrington a first classic.
They lead with the Dubs on the back of the Herald this morning. Earn your place reads the headline. Gavin's warning for Stars as Dubs blast Wicklow. 425 to 111 was the final score there yesterday. An incredible result. Although, they did beat the spread actually. 23-point win for Dublin yesterday. The spread was 22. The bookies are always right. On the back page of the Mirror, it's all systems go and all systems mow. So Manchester United are leading the scramble apparently for £120 million Gareth Bale, who turns 29 this summer, clearly not happy at Real Madrid. And Salah vows to make up for his final injury agony by getting fit for World Cup battle. I think FIFA should just intervene and WADA should just intervene and say, Mo Salah, take all the drugs you need to heal that shoulder.
Yeah.
Here is, whoever's the head of WADA should just hand deliver all the corticosteroids that exist in the world and say, inject yourself, Mo, we need you.
Yeah.
On the back page of the Star, it says, shock and roll, Carlow and Longford upset Leinster Giants. You've got United leading chase for Bale. Karius says, I'm so sorry. And Michael Ryan says, Tip will fight to the very end. On the back page of the Sun, then, it's that same picture from Carlow. Carlow and behold, Turlow says, bring it on. Well, you've got France versus Ireland preview as well there saying, or Seamus Coleman saying, I feel fine. Seamus is all set for the French test. Moving then finally to some of the UK back pages. There is Chris Froome. Good old Chris Froome.
Yay.
Giro d'Italia champion. The first British cyclist to win the Giro, which I didn't realise. That's quite the achievement for Chris Froome. Congratulations, Chris, from everybody here at Off the Ball.
Triple crown.
On the front page of the Daily Telegraph sports section, England must wield the axe. That's Jeffrey Boycott calling for Bale to go after first test humiliation at Lords.
So we should talk a bit about Karius and the Gareth Bale stuff. My favourite Gareth Bale story is in the back of The Sun, where they managed somehow to establish the fact that despite the fact that he'd scored an absolutely sensational goal and then also the third goal, that Gareth Bale didn't get any love from Zinedine Zidane. No attaboy for 3 full hours after the game. They've got it, bicycle kick in the teeth is the headline. I'm like, what's that about? Oh, I'm going to read this now. And then I regret it instantly. Gareth Bale suffered an amazing snub from Zinedine Zidane after his Champions League final wonder goal. Did Zidane punch him in the face? Did he? The Real Madrid boss did not speak to his match winner for more than 3 hours after the victory over Liverpool.
Well, if that's true, it is still disgraceful, no? Nobody likes Gareth Bale in Madrid.
It's not disgraceful.
It is disgraceful. He's
doing interviews over here. He's doing interviews over here.
3 hours.
But like, I'm sure loads of people don't see each other. Bale goes off and finds his family and hangs out with them. Not everybody all together in the same room.
But they were on the same pitch. Zidane has to go over immediately and say, listen, Gareth, I'm sorry for...
I think you're an asshole, but good goal. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Good goal.
Did Bale not go over to him and go, look, boss, actually this all worked out really well. I was really fit and fresh in the final. And you not picking me loads because I wasn't playing very well and actually was coming back from injury was the right thing to do. No. Bale's like, look what I just did. And he's not talking to me.
But all his teammates really dislike him as well or something. I don't know. It was such a cold victory lap, wasn't it? It just seemed so dull, so underwhelming. Like Sergio Ramos with his stupid GoPro and his stupid head, and he's just an annoying person. And there's nothing to like about that Real Madrid team. They don't even like each other.
Yeah, they are the greatest team of this generation, the greatest team since the 1970s. It's weird to say that, but they're the best football team since the 1970s. They've won 3 European Cups in a row. It is a sensational achievement, unparalleled since the great teams of... Like, they're better than the Milan team of the Arrigo Sacchi era. They are as good as any of the Bayern and Ajax teams, and they're getting close enough to probably being considered as good as the original Real Madrid team.
But I don't know why we aren't having the conversation about this Real Madrid team versus Pep's Barcelona team. There is an argument to be made there. Just because they've won 3 European Cups in a row is an unbelievable achievement, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But ultimately you can gauge things on things that aren't trophies sometimes.
Well, so pick them in a one-off game. Maybe you pick Pep's team and maybe Pep's team. But life isn't one-off games. Life is actually...
What they've achieved, they're a better team than Pep Guardiola because of doing 3 European Cups in a row. It is an astonishing achievement.
4 and 5 years.
It's amazing. Don't get me wrong, but are they a better team? Are they a better group of individuals? I don't think so.
Well, no, a better group of individuals isn't a better team.
Are they a better team and a better group of individuals? I think Barcelona win on both counts.
I mean, there's a possibility that 5 minutes into that game, that one-off game that we've invented, that Sergio Ramos does something to break Leo Messi's ankle in a vaguely illegal but not illegal enough to get a red card kind of way, and that game's over.
Or maybe there's a vague possibility that Lionel Messi dribbles around Sergio Ramos, he trips over his own legs and breaks his own ankles.
I mean, maybe, but my point is
this is a fictitious game, so
my point is that I think Sergio Ramos and Real Madrid find a way to beat that Barcelona team.
No, they find a way to hurt Messi or something, but like one Messi does not a Barcelona team make.
Okay, so they were pretty good. So, I mean, they were an excellent team.
But I just don't understand why that hasn't been a bigger part of this conversation. Why are we automatically comparing Real Madrid?
They've fundamentally underachieved. That Barcelona team... Okay, so that Barcelona team also wins a World Cup and a European Championships without their best player. But, I don't know. I just think that... I also think that Karius had been a liability for Liverpool for so long that eventually these chickens come home to roost. You can't get away with having a dodgy goalkeeper. They had a dodgy goalkeeper and they thought they'd fixed it. But you see the difference that Ederson made to Manchester City over the course of the entire season. That's exactly what Liverpool need to do now, is find their equivalent of Ederson, whoever it is, for however long and however much they need to spend, whatever price, it's worth it. Because they lost the game because they had a crap goalkeeper.
Where does Loris Karius go from here?
I don't know, to the bench at Liverpool for a season or two, and then somebody else decides to take a punt and go, apart from that and the other howler every 3 or 4 games, you're a reasonable keeper. But
I hope we have a great moment of redemption for Loris Karius someday. I hope he wins the Champions League. I know that'll never happen, but I hope that he does it as a starting goalkeeper. And it's just because of just feeling sorry for the guy. That's the only reason why. No other reason. And maybe I shouldn't be feeling sorry for him. Maybe Liverpool had this coming to them. Maybe you're right, but I just can't help but feeling that Loris Karius, if hopefully karma isn't a bitch to him, and he actually turns things around. And I don't know. It's a sad sight. It was a very sad sight to see him all on his own on Saturday night.
And his teammates not going to him enough. That's been a narrative that was reported.
It's been a narrative, for sure. Like
Jamie Carragher at least went over to him. Why was Carragher on the sideline? Was he doing the game for somebody?
Must have been.
Or was he just like hanging out?
I haven't a clue. Fair play to him for doing it. I think one or two players should have at least immediately gone to him and just comforted him. I don't think anybody was realistically saying that everybody needs to go over and make this all about Loris Karius. I mean, Gareth Bale being the first English speaker to actually go over to him and commiserate with him was a bit sad, wasn't it?
Well, it's classy move from Bale. A misunderstood guy.
Why do you hate Gareth Bale so much?
I don't, but like this story where he's obviously leaked it, or somebody has leaked it, to like go, oh, Zidane didn't come over and say well done to me for 3 hours, like.
Yeah, well, that's Zidane's fault for not going over to him for 3 hours, is what I say. Imagine if you put yourself in Bale's shoes for a moment.
No.
Why?
Because he's just scored one of the greatest goals in the history of football.
Yeah.
And he's bitching and whining about not getting an attaboy from his manager. Enjoy the moment, be the bigger man, and you've literally just had a crowning moment in your career. You thought you've done this once before, and you thought, I can never top that, and then you go and you top it, and it's a thing of absolute stunning global beauty. The whole world is going to go, wow. But the story that they're writing about in the back page on the Monday morning afterwards is, this is a dick out. Come on.
Well, I guess that was always going to be his end game. He's like, I need to get myself out of the club. I need to angle for a move.
Wait a week.
Do it when you're in power. Like I made this point last week, Gareth Bale is going to become irrelevant very quickly over the next couple of weeks once this World Cup starts. He is not in the World Cup. He is not going to be on the back pages of newspapers, except now he is.
No.
Because he's leaked the story.
That's actually what happens is that there's World Cup stories, and then there's a bit of a pause because there's just matches. But all the speculation has to happen, and Manchester United desperately need to be relevant over a season when the World Cup teams are all getting their sponsors' names on the back pages. And at that point, you have your pick of, well, maybe I'd like to go back and live in London. I also like Paris, Manchester. Well, it's such a city steeped in the traditions of world football. And Gareth Bale does one interview with one newspaper, and it goes absolutely sensational in the build-up the week before the game start, or at any point. You can easily manage the media narrative to be one of the big stories in the summer and the transfer saga this summer. Easily done.
Or you could just score one of the greatest goals of all time and sell that nice story.
And ruin it by bitching about it afterwards.
But we don't know that he's leaked the story.
Where did it come from? Who else knows that Zidane didn't say hello to him for 3 hours?
The rest of the Real Madrid team.
They don't. No one is watching anybody else in that circumstance.
It's agent. It's all the agent's fault.
Maybe Cristiano Ronaldo is watching Gareth Bale to see how long is it before Zidane comes over here. Still hasn't done it. Well, because Ronaldo apparently also himself was like, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to stick around now. I might be leaving. And then immediately apologised and went, oh, actually, this isn't about me.